Welcome to a new Resident Evil mini-series that I'm trying out on the channel. The best parts of each Resident Evil game. Today we'll be starting with the earliest RE game in terms of the timeline, Resident Evil 0. While the Spencer Mansion incident may have been the original nightmare, this prequel follows Bravo Team's Rebecca Chambers prior to the events of the first game. From new character backstories to some answers regarding some of the biggest mysteries of the original game, these are the top 10 things that I find to be the most interesting and memorable parts of RE0. So, my name is Ruben with Nerd Space Games, and this is my top 10 best parts of Resident Evil 0. Number 10, Bravo Team Introduction.
It began as a simple investigation of some bizarre murders in the suburbs of Raccoon City. Nothing in our training could ever have prepared us for the nightmare that ensued. We never stood a chance.
Thanks to the original game, following Alpha Team's arrival to the Spencer Mansion, most of Bravo Team were dead by the time Alpha Team entered the mansion. People like Kenneth, Forrest, and Kevin never even had a chance to say a single word in the game due to them being corpses by the time we found them. However, in RE0, we got to see the entire Bravo Team alive and well before their death. Sure, the intro of the game wasn't as iconic as the original game's intro, but it at least gave us some time with characters that we didn't get to see much of in the original Nightmare. Number 9, Enrico and Rebecca.
All right, just be careful.
I never saw him again.
Speaking of Bravo Team, another impactful and memorable moment of Resident Evil 0 is the final scene between Rebecca and Enrico, the captain of Bravo Team. Considering that Rebecca is the rookie medic of the team, obviously Enrico was her mentor. Unfortunately, in the original game, Rebecca never gets to interact with Enrico prior to his death. However, RE0 still gives some closure between the characters before they split up for one final time. As Rebecca slowly makes her way to Billy by entering the exterior part of Ness, she comes across Enrico. He tells Rebecca that he's heading over to the Spencer Mansion to investigate and that she should come with him. However, Rebecca tells Enrico that she must stay behind and find Billy. Enrico accepts Rebecca's request and tells her that he'll meet her at the mansion. Unfortunately, this is the last time that they'll ever see each other, as Enrico will find himself being killed by Wesker in the original game. I guess one of the biggest what ifs is if Rebecca did go with Enrico. Could she have prevented his death, or would she have died as well? I guess we'll never know. Number 8, Billy Coen.
Billy. Lieutenant Coen.
So, you seem to know me. Been fantasizing about me, have you?
I'll be the first to admit that I'm a little bitter towards Billy Coen. The main reason for that is because I expected RE0 to focus on the STARS Bravo Team pairing Rebecca Chambers with either Enrico or Richard. Instead, they were once again sidelined and a new character was introduced for this prequel. Enter Billy Coen. With that said, Billy isn't a bad character. There are some really interesting traits about him, and as the game goes on, you begin to appreciate him more and more. For one, his bad boy demeanor kind of resembles the dark and brooding personality of Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 4. Plus, he had an interesting backstory regarding why he became a prisoner, and it was an interesting premise to see a prisoner and a cop team up throughout the events of RE0 in order to survive. By the end of the game, Billy Coen became someone that I wouldn't mind seeing again, especially since his survival was kind of left as a mystery at the end of the game. Number 7, The Fate of Edward Dewey.
Edward! No! Stop! Don't come any closer!
In the first Resident Evil game, you'll actually come across almost every single STARS member at some point. Some of them will be alive when you meet them, and others, well, they won't be. However, there's one STARS member that you'll never see or hear from throughout the entire game. That, of course, is Edward Dewey. This is Bravo Team's head pilot and mechanic. While the co-pilot, Kevin Dooley's body, is found in the first game during the intro, we actually never get to see Edward's body, nor do we hear about what happened to him. We just assume he's dead like every other Bravo Team member except for Rebecca. Yet, it's a bit weird that he's the only body that we never find in the first game. However, in RE0, we finally get to see what actually happens to him. After exploring the train as Rebecca, Edward comes crashing through a window to escape zombie dogs. Not long after that, he dies. Later in the game, Edward will become a zombie and attack the player. It's a small moment in the game that confirms something that we already had a feeling about but wasn't 100% sure until his death in RE0. Number 6, Wesker Mode.
Shit! How is this possible? Help! No, this can't be. You bitch! You failed me!
It's always a blast to get more of Albert Wesker, but how about playing through the entire game as Wesker? Well, in RE0, there's a whole mode dedicated to this exact feature. After beating the game, you'll unlock Wesker Mode. In this version of the game, Rebecca's outfit changes to something a little more sinister and Billy becomes the Albert Wesker. But it's not just a costume change for Billy. Wesker's outfit also comes with his own voice lines and even unique abilities. In Wesker Mode, you can dash across rooms and even use a unique ability called Death Stare. This ability can charge up Wesker's attacks and blow the heads off of zombies without laying a single finger on them. Wesker Mode is so fucking awesome, enough said. Number 5, the third founding member.
Dr. Marcus?
No, you can't be. What's going on?
It's been known throughout the Resident Evil series that Umbrella, the infamous pharmaceutical company behind the T and G virus, had 3 founding members. Oswald E. Spencer, the CEO of Umbrella, who is later killed by Wesker, Edward Ashford, the father of Alexia and Alfred Ashford, and James Marcus. While we learn the fate of Edward Ashford and Code Veronica and Oswald E. Spencer in RE5, the third founding member of Umbrella is the only one that serves as the main antagonist of a game. Thanks to Resident Evil 0, we learned that James Marcus was assassinated by Birkin and Albert Wesker. Later, we also learned that he's still alive thanks to his DNA fusing with a T-virus infected Queen Leech. Throughout the events of Resident Evil 0, we learn more about Marcus and his research and everything he actually contributed to the T-virus research and Umbrella. After being betrayed and killed by Birkin and Wesker, Marcus seeks revenge on not only them and Umbrella, but the entire world. His portrayal might be a little cartoonish for my liking, but his backstory and the fact that we get to learn more about this third founding member of Umbrella was one of the most interesting parts of Resident Evil 0. Number 4, the train.
This is Officer Chambers from STARS Bravo team. Please identify yourself. Is someone there?
The government has announced that it has set out to protect our province, but as of 2 years ago, when several plans were set up, the local government stepped in and took over.
By now, you'll notice that Resident Evil has explored so many unique locations within its universe, from a spooky mansion to a sinking cruise ship. There have been plenty of unique locations in RE games. However, RE0 introduced a location that was actually more terrifying than it would appear on paper. The first location in this game was actually on a train. Not only does the setting of a train create narrow and thin hallways, making it much more difficult to avoid zombie attacks, but RE0 also found a way to make the setting stand out in terms of the rooms on this train. From walking on top of the train itself to battling a giant scorpion in a bar area. The train location in RE0 is without a doubt one of the best locations seen in the franchise. It completely outshines the training facility, which kind of tries to steal a lot of elements from the Spencer Mansion and even the treatment plant, which felt less interesting than the first location of the game. Sadly, it's probably the shortest area of the game thanks to the limited size of the train itself, and there isn't much to explore in this iconic location. Number 3, what caused the outbreak?
Do you think so too?
Yeah.
Do about it.
Should hold off for a while.
But I wonder how those R&D people would react to this.
Resident Evil begins with Alpha Team heading out to search for Bravo Team, the squad that was originally sent in to investigate the string of brutal attacks in the Arklay Mountains. While Resident Evil does reveal what has been causing these attacks, the game doesn't fully explore how the outbreak occurred. Even Wesker at the end of the first game just talks about the outbreak without saying the cause of it directly. Thankfully, RE0 clears up this mystery and explains how the outbreak in the Arklay Mountains and the Spencer Mansion started. After James Marcus resurrected himself by merging with the DNA of a T-virus infected Queen Leech, he began attacking Umbrella by leading infected leeches to a train transporting Umbrella employees. From here, Marcus began infecting other employees and civilians around the area, which ultimately led to the outbreak at both the training facility and the Spencer Mansion. And it's all thanks to RE0 why we now fully understand how the outbreak occurred. Number 2, Wesker and Birkin.
It just doesn't make sense. Do you honestly believe this to be the real identity of that crazy young man? Impossible. But if somehow it is true, then Umbrella will be finished.
If the old conspiracy against Dr. Marcus is revealed, Mr. Spencer's career will be over. Not to mention ours, too. So, the time has come at last.
What are you going to do?
I will simply say goodbye to Umbrella. The biological weapon utilizing the T-virus has almost been completed. Our only remaining task is to acquire combat data.
You can't be serious. I refuse to abandon my work. I have finished the research on the T-virus, but I need a little more time to complete the more powerful G-virus.
Do as you wish. I will follow my initial plan and lure the STARS members into the mansion. Their superior combat training should make them perfect test subjects.
Fine. In the meantime, something must be done about that madman. As I recall, URC is equipped with a self-destruct device in the basement. I'll find it, set it off, and annihilate the place to nothing more than a mass of rubble.
Despite both Wesker and Birkin working for Umbrella, and essentially both of them looking to betray Umbrella at some point to achieve their own goals, we never actually really learn much about their relationship in other games. Sure, they may have been a file here and there about them mentioning each other, but it wasn't until Resident Evil 0 where we saw their relationship firsthand. Clearly, both of these men are some of the most iconic villains of the franchise, and they both are extremely intelligent. In Resident Evil 0, we get to see not one but multiple scenes with them, including a scene in which both of them betray James Marcus and assassinate him. We get to see them coming up with plans and strategies together, and eventually we see them part ways, in which Wesker heads out to lead his Alpha Team into the Spencer Mansion, and Birkin activates his self-destruct sequence before heading to Raccoon City to continue his G-Virus research. Without a doubt, seeing two of the most iconic villains of the series interact with each other was one of the best parts of Resident Evil 0. Number 1, Rebecca Chambers.
You expect me to trust you, a wanted felon? I don't need your help. I can handle this on my own. And don't call me little girl.
All right, Miss Do-It-Yourself. What should I call you?
The name is Rebecca Chambers, but that's Officer Chambers to you.
I can't think of a better ending to today's list than ending it off with this. Rebecca Chambers is a badass. Let's face it, in the only other game that we've ever seen Rebecca in, she's kind of a damsel. A majority of that game she spends calling out to Chris for help, and the one scene where we get to see her facing off against a monster, she basically cries until Chris saves her. It's sad to think that an officer on STARS, even as a rookie, is unable to defend herself when in danger. It also doesn't make a ton of sense, considering that Bravo Team had been stranded in the mountains for almost a full day before Alpha Team even arrived. Yet she is somehow one of the only sole survivors of Bravo Team, as she manages to survive all of that time. Things just didn't seem to add up with Rebecca's portrayal in the first game. Thankfully, RE0 basically retconned Rebecca's damsel in distress demeanor and replaced it with the true badass STARS rookie medic that we all love and adore. Not only does Rebecca fight against tons of monsters, even alone during some sections of the game, but she also faces a fucking tyrant by herself and survives. If there was one positive thing that we can all take from Resident Evil 0, then it's this. RE0 saved Rebecca Chambers and turned her into one of the most badass and iconic characters of the franchise. End of story. But that's it for today's episode of Nerd Space Games. Hit up the comments and let me know what you think of my list. Is Rebecca Chambers the best part of Resident Evil 0, or is there something else that you think deserves that title? Oh, and let me know what you think of my new mini-series. Would you like to see the top 10 best parts of each Resident Evil game? If so, let me know down below. Anyway, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more survival horror content. But thanks for watching, and as always, I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Nerd Space Games. Take care.